like I'm competitive, and I didn't expect to do super well this year, obviously, but I wanted to learn, and I've learned a lot because of this club.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kayak Bass Connection Podcast. I'm Jared, your host. So today we're going to have an interesting angler interview with my friend James Faught. Now, many of you may know him as a member of the Southern Illinois Kayak Club, but he's also a heck of a bass angler outside the club and an entrepreneur. James shares some great insight with our interview today, both on his fishing success in saltwater and freshwater. One of the most interesting things we get into during this conversation is about the birth of his most recent business venture, the Midwest Kayak Company in southeastern Missouri. I was really impressed at the price point that some of his kayaks are coming in at, and he'll explain that during the interview. This company is just getting off the ground, but I can see some great things in the near future. So let's get on with the interview with James. All right, now welcome to the podcast. We are now visiting with a friend of mine, James Faught. James is a member of the Southern Illinois Kayak Club, an accomplished angler out of a boat and a kayak. So we wanted to talk to him also about the new business venture he has going on, closely connected to the kayak scene. So, James, thank you very much for coming on the program today.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to being able to jump on this ever since we started talking about it a couple months ago. So I'm excited what's going on with it.
Yeah, you were one of the guys that really helped me have the confidence to get this thing rolling with your background, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And it's been great. I appreciate your help in getting this off the ground.
Absolutely.
So how long have you been fishing? Let's just start in general terms.
So I probably, if I had to gauge it, I probably started fishing when I was about 7 or 8. And I always liked to bass fish, always. Yeah. And I did that until I was probably 16, 17, 18 years old. And even my secret passwords and secret questions for the bank were, what are you going to be when you grow up? And it was a professional bass fisherman, because I really thought that's what I'd do. Grew up, the Lake House, Kentucky Lake, and, brother-in-law that had a boat. My dad, my family had a boat. And so I've been bass fishing for a long time, but I took a long break from it. So, since I got back into it, it's been a couple years. And there's a lot of new baits out now that didn't exist when I was fishing, up in my, mid-20s. So it's changed a lot, but I've been around fishing for pretty much my entire life in some capacity.
Fantastic. That sounds so similar to my story. I fished every year as a little kid, and family vacations were centered around fishing. And then a young adult got busy, and now I've come back to it. So sort of what you're doing now. So that's fantastic. So what about the fishing out of kayaks? When did you start that?
So I've had kayaks, just regular old cheap paddle kayaks, for probably about 10 years or so. My wife and I worked a weekend option job at the hospital when we met, and eventually got married. But we would fish river systems. In Southeast Missouri, we have Current River, 11 Point, Jack's Fork, and all these rivers. And so we would just float and fish and camp and all that. And so I got a little taste of it then. But to get into serious kayak fishing happened last October, actually. I bought a pedal drive kayak, and that's kind of what, once I understood that there was gear tracks and places to mount things and fish finders and batteries and rod holders, all this stuff, it changed everything for me. And so I just kind of, I got out of the hunting industry, and I thought, I'm going to go back to my roots. I'm going to start fishing again. And that's what I did. And, now I fish, sometimes 2-3 days a week, because I own a business now. And
when I called you to try to arrange the interview, you were just getting off the water.
Yeah. I've been at Cedar since 6:30 this morning. So
we've talked about Cedar Lake in just about every podcast. just a little bit. We don't want to get too many people on that body of water.
Yeah, it's a special place. It really is. I fell in love with it, and it's close for me. So I really like it.
So where are you located at?
I'm in Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Okay,
So I'm
just
about
over the
2 hours
Illinois.
south of St. Louis. Yeah, 2 hours south of St. Louis, and we're about 3 hours up from Chicago on 55. And we're literally located right on 55, in between 55, Interstate 55, and Mississippi River. So,
Okay, fantastic. Do you find yourself going to the Illinois side a lot to fish, or do you do kind of more around Missouri?
yeah, I've got a couple of private places I fish in Missouri, but most
Mm-hmm.
of, any good fish that I've caught and any good days I've had have been in Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
so that cedar, a little grassy, or, I fished at crab some in the past, Lake of Egypt. It just seems to be better fishing over there than what I have close to me. In Missouri, you've
Yeah.
got to go to Table Rock or Lake of the Ozarks or places like that, Truman and Pomme de Terre. All their tournaments are so far away from me, and
Mm-hmm.
I could hit the majority of the Southern Illinois Club tournaments within under 3 hours.
Yeah.
There's a couple that are a little bit farther. Banner Marsh was a long drive, and Newton was
Mm-hmm.
a 3 hour drive. But I had to
Mm-hmm.
miss a couple this year. But those were those 3 and 4 hour drives for me. But we have a lot of access close. So
Okay. Fantastic. So now I understand from our previous conversations you had done or still do some tournament fishing in boats. Is that right?
yeah, I was just on the phone with a buddy of mine that we do a
Yeah.
Thursday night partner tournament, boat tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got a couple of wins in that tournament, and I don't know where we are for angler of the year. Kind of, I guess it's not really angler of the year because it's a boat, but it's team of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Last I heard, we were in fourth place out of about
Nice.
an average of 16. I think we were about 18 people in the running for that. So we've had a
Nice.
pretty good showing. We've missed the past couple of weeks. I had a trip to Gulf Shores last week, so I missed that. Plus, I missed this week's tournament because of just getting back and running two businesses now. It's been pretty busy. So
Yeah. So before we hit on the business, I want to dive a little bit more into kind of your background. You had
yeah,
said that you've only been kayak fishing a couple of years, just kind of got back into fishing after a little bit of hiatus. So when you came back in, were there revelations that you had? Do you think that might have helped you because you improve as a fisherman? I mean, you do really well, especially for someone that's just been active a few years. What were kind of the big light bulbs that went off whenever you got back into fishing? Do you remember?
I tell you, one of the biggest things was, Jonathan Kessler is local to
Hmm.
me. He lives here in town as a professor at SEMO, and I know John really
Okay.
well, and
Yeah.
I've got getting to know Dustin a little bit more, although we haven't fished together. Me and Jonathan have.
Hmm.
It's fishing deep, and once you figure out a pattern, is sticking with it. And I've got a buddy that fishes boat tournaments in Southern Illinois, and he got his start just in a paddle kayak, and he bought a boat. And now
Hmm.
he's got live scope, and he's very
Yeah.
competitive now in some of their local clubs and plays as well in all the tournaments. But one of the things I think that I've learned a lot, especially summer fishing, is I tried to take every season and think about what exactly is the best technique to catch big fish. And in the summer, my buddy in Southern Illinois that fishes boat tournaments, he's like, big worms. And so
Hmm.
I started throwing big worms, and I started slowing down. I wouldn't throw any top water. I
Hmm.
wouldn't throw any fast moving baits. I would literally start at sunrise, and I would start throwing and
Just
finding structure offshore. And I started catching, now I've got, I think today made my fifth fish over 18 inches. And,
fantastic.
just since this spring, no,
Hmm.
six, I guess now, actually, now that I think
Okay.
about it. Newton, I caught an 18, but I lost it.
Okay.
Didn't get a photo of it, but I
Oh
did have it
man.
on the board, and it was 18 inches.
Oh.
But it's taught me a lot. Kayak fishing slows you down because you can't just get tired
Yes.
of a spot and then run a mile to another spot. And I
Hmm.
love that about it. And so that's probably the biggest takeaway I have from kayak fishing so far has been learning how to just fish a spot and catch fish and find them deep.
Hmm.
The fish, the last three, not the one I caught today, but the last three I caught that were big fish, I caught them in 15 to 20 foot of water on the bottom,
Really.
so that's something I'd never done,
Hmm.
and now I've caught a few
Yeah.
that are, 18 plus that are that are, in 15 to 20 foot of water. And that is something I've never done. I've always, like, we fished the banks when we fished Kentucky Lake growing up. Like, we just pounded the banks and we'd catch fish.
Yeah.
But you typically don't catch those big fish, and so that's probably one of my biggest takeaways from getting into kayak fishing is it forced me to slow down and forced me to understand how to fish what's in front of you and fish what's in front of you for a while, because that's all you're going to have in front of you unless you want to waste 30 minutes moving a mile, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So you say fishing deep is something it sounds like you've really explored more and more since you've got back into the kayak fishing or just fishing in general. So now we're taping this in mid-August. So typically this is kind of one of the later, late period of summer that people expect fish to be a little bit deeper. Do you try to do that in the spring as well? I mean, other times of the year, or do you think that's something that is unique to the summer pattern?
So it's unique to summer and winter for me.
Okay.
I caught a lot of fish deep in the winter, but typically, like, I tried to take, I fished with a 10-inch plastic worm all summer. And I've done that on purpose to force me to learn what the bite feels like, how to fish it, and how to locate those fish. And every time I found those fish. In the winter, it was jerk bait fishing. And, twitch, pause for 10 seconds. So it's still that slow presentation, but it's getting a jerk bait down to the depths where they stay in the winter. And that, like, I've kind of fallen in love with the deep bite. Now, contrary to that, I caught fish shallow all day on grass beds today, but I wasn't catching them deep. So I thought, well, I've got to change something. And I made a change and I started catching them shallow. And I caught several good fish, and I lost two that were probably 18 to 20 inch class today right at the boat. So it happens sometimes. So
awesome.
I like fishing deep. I do. I've enjoyed it this summer, but like, I'm anxious to see what I can learn next, because I feel like I feel really good about a big worm Texas rig. I feel good about fishing a jig deep, and I'm not saying I'm a hammer at that, but I've learned a lot this over the summer fishing deep. Just like I learned a lot in the spring and the winter. So
you find you're carrying less tackle because you're concentrating on those?
I wish I could say that was the case, but I'm not. I'm still carrying 5 or 6 rods, and I'm still carrying every single thing I own except for a dump bag, a dump box I've got in my garage.
I'm just laughing because that's me exactly. I'll come back at the end of the day and I'm like, there's 4 baits that I used all day today. What are the other 300 doing in the boat? But
yeah.
I'm glad it's not just me.
Now I did use that same thought process when we were in Gulf Shores this past week, and it's like it's the same thing there. It was blazing hot down there, like miserable hot. Even locals that I run into fishing, they were like it's tough right now. We're not catching fish because it's just too hot. And so I got to where every morning I would get up and I would fish, from 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning until a couple hours after daylight, and then I'd quit because it was so hot. And I was carrying 2 little 3600 Plano boxes in my black pack, and that was all I was carrying. And just a few different things, soft plastics, trying to catch fish, and same thing. I was trying to catch them deep because they're doing the same thing. So it didn't pan out as well as normal, but I did catch one good fish.
Well, that you're counting on, or you're touching on some things here that I really like to dig into. Is I've always wanted to saltwater fish and never have done that. You were in a kayak, right?
Oh yeah,
you're okay. Cause probably one of the ones you picked up. So, how long you've been doing that? Give me a little background on your history with off. It's probably not offshore, but it's saltwater, right?
No, inshore. Yeah.
Okay.
So, my first saltwater trip was probably, I would say, about 15 years ago, and it was an offshore trip. We booked a charter, went out and caught red snapper, amberjack, beeliners, and things like that. Just common, shipwreck or reef fishing, bottom fishing, and I thought, this is pretty dang cool. And so for the past few years, we've been going to Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan area in Alabama, and like every time we would go, like, man, if I had a kayak, I could go fish
Right.
some of these bays and the
Mm-hmm.
passes and things like that. And that's really what led me to buying a kayak was like when we go to Gulf Shores, because we do that trip,
Mm-hmm.
at least once a summer for family. And then I go a couple
Okay.
times in the spring and fall to fish.
Hmm.
It's like if I had a kayak, I could go and catch flounder and redfish and speckled trout and, sometimes no telling what else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what kind of led me to the kayak world was saltwater, because I
Oh,
thought, if I could haul that down to be really easy.
yeah.
I can't buy a center console boat to go offshore
Mm-hmm.
fish in the
Mm-hmm.
bays, but
Mm-hmm.
I could buy a kayak, and these guys are catching giant fish out of kayaks. So I was like, I'm going to try it. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what started all this. So, now every time I go down, I'm in a kayak and I'm fishing, and
Well.
like, a lagoon or a sound or a pass
Mm-hmm.
or a bay or something like that, because it's easy access and there's a world of fish down there.
Yeah. That's so funny because we had a vacation a couple of years ago. We went down we were in Dauphin Island for a little bit and around
Yeah.
Mobile in that area, and that's what I was thinking as we're as we're driving around. And we were at Fort Morgan. And I'm like, man, I wonder the fishing is here. But that's got that might have to be something I might have to plan for the middle of winter. Get out of here.
I'll
Go
tell you
down there.
this, it can be really good if you time it right. I had a
Yeah.
really good trip back in March. We caught some big redfish back in the
Okay.
marsh and caught sheep's head off the wall at Perdido Pass. It's something anybody can do. The redfish trip
Okay.
was in kayaks, and we went. By the time we caught our last fish and started coming back, we were 7 miles where we launched. So I mean,
Oh
it's
wow.
work to get to some of
Yeah.
those fish. But
Yeah.
I caught a 26-inch redfish. I could see my townhouse that we were staying in when I was reeling it in. So
Oh,
the opportunity is down there to do it.
That's nice. That's very nice. So you also went down there for business, right? You had to go down there
I
and
did.
pick up a few things. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you've got you're a bit of an entrepreneur by learning more about you.
I am.
You've got your hands in a couple different things. So tell me about how the Midwest Kayak Company has come to life here.
So I bought my kayak, looking for kayaks, it got started in the saltwater stuff, and I wanted something I could
Mm-hmm.
take out and fish. And I thought, well, I need to find a kayak. So I'm watching YouTube videos, and I see this guy going out and catching big Jack Crevalles, that are 25, 30, 40, 50 pounds out of a kayak. And I was like, well, if he can do that, I can do that. I just need a kayak. And so I sent him a message, just said, hey, where'd you get your kayak? He said, well, it's a hammerhead kayak, and I bought it in Mobile, Alabama. So, well, that's right around the corner from, Fort Morgan, which is where we usually stay. And so I last October, I planned a trip with a buddy of mine to go down there just strictly to fish. Just, 3 days of fishing, a day of travel on each side.
Mm-hmm.
And I called the guy that has the kayaks in Mobile, and I said, I want to buy one of those kayaks. What do you tell me about them? And so he's like, well, it's a pedal drive. You get fin or prop and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I want to buy one. And so we set up a day. I said, we'll be coming in town this day. I took a trailer down there, and I said, I want to buy one, have one ready for me. And so I bought one. We went out, did some fishing, caught my first big flounder, caught some speckled trout, and all of a kayak. And I was like, I like this. And so when we come back through and, we stopped and talked to him for a little bit, he said, you live in Southeast Missouri, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, you need to sell kayaks up in the Midwest. And I was like, no, not doing it. And, this was last October. And I was like, I'm not interested. I own a business now that's busy. It's too much to take care of. And about probably a month or 2 months ago, I just, for some reason, I thought, maybe I should look at this again. And so I made a post on Facebook, and that post took off. By the end of the day that day, I was engaged in 10 or 12 Facebook messages, and people calling and like, hey, you're selling kayaks all of a sudden? I was like, yeah, I am all of a sudden. And it just kind of started. And so we actually pre-sold 8 kayaks for our trip that we took last week. And we were able to bring back 8 because 3 of them are still not delivered yet to Mobile. So we're waiting on those. But, I brought back 5, and now I'm down to, 3 kayaks. And all three of one of those are already sold, and the other two are just inventory for me. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, well, now I could start marketing the two I have left and try to
Yeah.
sell them, and then I'll make another trip in a couple weeks to pick up another load. So it's
Okay.
surprisingly been a pretty good deal, mostly because the cost of entry for this model or not this model, but this line of kayaks is a lot less expensive than buying an Old Town or a Hobie or,
Yeah.
these other kayaks that are thousands of dollars. You can get into a pedal drive for anywhere from $1,400 to $1,800. So
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up their website. I looked up Hammerhead kayaks. Let me bring that up and share the screen here real quick.
yeah,
Just to kind of get people on YouTube may want to take a look at what you're talking about there. Let's see. Yeah, that's what struck me was the pricing. It was pretty competitive pricing,
yeah.
and that's unique is that you can get either drive system. So tell me more about the drive systems here as I get
So
sharing this.
yeah, so like the bull shark, that's what I've had. That's what I bought
Mm-hmm.
last October, and that's what I fish out up to this day. And you could do a prop drive or pedal or a fin drive for that. Both pedal
Okay.
drives, obviously, but you could do
Mm-hmm.
prop or fin. And the whale shark is a new model, and you could do either drive with it. Um, the baby whale is a prop drive only or a troll motor option, and the whale shark also has a troll motor option. The great white is another pedal
Okay.
drive. The nice thing too about it is, there's way more models than what's on the website right now.
Okay.
But there are a few paddle options as well. So, if somebody is like, well, hey, I don't need a pedal drive, but I just want a
Mm-hmm.
good paddle kayak that's got gear track and adjustable seats and hatches and all these things. I actually have in my shop right now, we've got a paddle kayak that's far less expensive,
Okay.
and it has got foot controlled rudder. So it still has a
Ah,
rudder. So if
that's slick.
you want to put a control motor on it and just turn it on, you can actually steer it with the rudder, and it's foot controlled. So
Yeah,
pretty
look at
neat.
here
There's a lot.
on their website. Your name's right on the
Yeah.
website. Coming soon to
Yeah.
Missouri.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
So we probably could change that, but also we probably should leave it the same because it's been a lot running my normal business, plus trying to do this kayak stuff has been a lot of work. So
Sure.
but yeah, it's been good, and what excites me the most is being able to put people in kayaks that they could afford, and they're not scrapping and saving. There's nothing wrong with a Hobie, an Old Town, a Native.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing wrong with either of those.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're great kayaks, but if you're just trying to dabble in this and trying to get your feet wet and get a pedal
Mm-hmm.
drive that you could fish out of,
Yeah.
like that's the market we're in,
Okay.
and there's a chance we have some other things coming soon I can't talk about, but
Mm-hmm.
we've got some things in the works to offer some more high end models as well. So, and it just all kind of happened,
Hey,
I don't know how else to say it.
some of the greatest businesses just happen. You're filling a
Yeah.
need that you suddenly realize is there.
Yeah.
Now I noticed one of the one drive is the fin drive. So is that one of the clones of the original Hobie drive? Then is that kind of what they're looking at there?
It would be similar to that. Yeah.
Okay.
They don't have any wet any capabilities like the Mirage drive does.
All right.
But it would be it would be that pump style
Okay.
and, fins. So yeah.
Okay. All right. And then the pedal drive looked like it was pretty much in between what you might see in an Old Town pedal drive and a Native. I mean, something that is a bicycle type pedal
Yep.
drive. So,
Yep.
all right. So, if folks want to get a hold of you to talk more about the Hammerhead kayaks, how do they reach you?
My phone number is 573-380-7620. Feel free to post that. We also have a Facebook page that's growing.
Okay.
Kind of a surprise to me, growing like crazy. But it's Midwest Kayak Company, and it should be pretty easy to find on Facebook, and we could put a link in. So,
all right, fantastic. Okay, so now kind of looking to the future. You've got another tournament coming up before long. Because I love that lake. It's killing me. But anyway, there's a really good fight going on right now for Angler of the Year in the Southern Illinois Kayak Club, like a 5-way race. So you're going to get in the middle of that too. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love that lake.
yeah. So any predictions from you on what it's going to take to win that?
It's going to take a lot of inches. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, as somebody that's a first year getting into kayak tournaments, and
Mm-hmm.
the benefit we did for Bob,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what I finished. I ended up finishing I think fifth out of 16, but with 90 something inches. I had
Man.
a 20, and I had an 18 and three quarter. I
Oh.
had a 19 and three quarter, and then a couple of upper 16s. And that was the best 5-bag sack I've ever been able to put together. And I finished that up with a really good day at Cedar Lake,
Mm.
and ended up upgrading some of my smaller fish. The last day, actually, I submitted my last fish,
Yeah.
and I looked at after the submission went through. I had 2 minutes left before the tournament was over, and it put me up another 3 inches, which actually
That's
pushed me up another
that.
place. So
That's an important lesson learned there. I keep fishing till the very end.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I learned a lesson that thankfully that wasn't some big expensive tournament that we're in. It was a fundraiser, and I'm glad the overall entry money went to a really good cause there.
yeah,
But I
absolutely.
sabotaged myself in that tournament. I didn't have a big bag or anything. I went out that last day of the month because it was a month long. I went the last day of the month trying to call some fish in my bag, and just didn't have a very good day at all. And I got home and I had not uploaded any fish because I thought I got all month, right? So I said, I'm going to replace these fish anyway. So I got home and got everything put away and got inside and said, hey, I need to get those fish uploaded. And it was 7:00. And I went to look and it uploaded. It was like not showing the tournament. I'm like, well, what comes not showing the tournament? And then I messaged the tournament director. He's like, hey, goof, it's ended at 6 p.m. Like, yeah.
Look,
So
Jared, I checked that morning. Like I was planning on spending the afternoon at the lake all the way till dark.
Yeah.
And I checked that morning. I was like, because I was planning on getting to the lake and fishing like midday bite and then eat like nighttime, up till dark. I figured it would stop at 8:00 or 8:30.
Yeah.
And I got on there and checked, and I was like, oh my gosh, it quits at 6. So all I've got's a midday bite. But I ended up having a really good day. I didn't catch any big fish that day, but I caught all 16-inch plus fish and was able to upgrade a couple of my small fish. And me and Lee actually were partners. And actually, I think we ended up finishing third or fourth, as a team. So we had a pretty good showing. So
I completely let my partner down because I think it was a charity event.
Yeah, you did.
Oh my gosh! But well, fantastic. First of all, thanks for taking the time. We're meeting here on a weekend. I know you're a busy guy. Got a lot of things going on. Plus, got a great family. So moving forward. So you're hoping just to sell a couple more kayaks, just keep rolling forward, right, and start building this Midwest Kayak Company. It's fantastic.
So I've actually, I got a vendor set up with Yak Gadget. Talked to JT, is the owner, super good guy. I've actually owned a couple of his products already. Didn't even know it. And, so placed a small order with him to get some accessories, Okay. I've got the kayaks, that I'll have to, get from Mobile, Alabama. But, I'm excited to see what kind of people I can get into the sport of kayaking. When I set out to start kayak fishing, and I started the YouTube channel, and I started, all TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, I thought I really want to see the sport of kayak fishing grow in Southeast Missouri, because we're kind of in this weird hole to where we do have some fishing opportunity, but nobody really tournament fishes. Kessler and Siegel are local. We have some great guys, and I talked to a guy today that just got a kayak a couple months ago. It's a nice pedal drive, feel free, and he was like, I heard it. Are you in the Southern Illinois Club? And I said, actually, I am. And so we talked about that a little bit, and I was like, man, send me a message. You can come fish. We're actually fishing our last tournament of the year in a few weeks. It's right here, and Cedar's a lake he fishes a lot, so it's a great family to be a part of.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I would say, if anybody's going to be watching this and just wondering what it's like to be in a kayak tournament, just get on the website for Southern Illinois Kayak Club. Look at the tournament dates. Just show up to an event. fish or don't fish, whatever, just stop and talk to the guys. I mean, we usually not hard to find out who's with the tournament trail because it's usually the only kayaks.
Right.
Our units usually look a little different from the rest of them. So I haven't met anyone yet that I haven't just considered to be just very welcoming and extremely even helpful too. If you got a problem or you're wondering how to do this or that. So, but I tell you what, when the flag drops and that tournament day starts, they're still going to be very, very friendly, but they'll whoop you. We have some incredible fishermen.
We do.
And the crazy thing is they may catch, that 20-inch fish, and I'll probably tell you right there what they caught it on. During the
they will. I've seen it myself in a couple of tournaments. I pull up there, be 2 or 3 guys parked, anchored out, catching fish, and what? How are you guys catching these fish? And here, this is what we're catching them on. And Josh, our tournament director, told me that when I joined. He was like, dude, everybody, like I've seen guys hand another guy a lure that he's catching fish on, and say go, and that guy ended up doing well. Kessler's got a good story about that,
Yeah,
but that's what it's about. Like I'm competitive, and I didn't expect to do super well this year, obviously, but I wanted to learn, and I've learned a lot because of this club. I mean, strictly because of this club, because everybody's been sharing ideas and how they catch fish, and when you're on the water practicing, if you run into somebody, everybody's always very welcoming and able to share information. So,
yeah, and really every time I travel one of these tournaments, I'm usually not cashing a check here, but I come away, the entry fees are pretty reasonable. I think right now we're at $50 or $55 for most of our tournaments. You get a fishing lesson worth that at the end of the day. Just sitting around talking to the guys that did cash the checks, and they'll just tell you, hey, well, this is my favorite one though was I think it was 2 tournaments ago. And literally, Kevin, we were standing there when they're presenting the checks. They said, hey, Kevin, how did you catch him? He turns around, he points, and goes right there behind us in that grass. That's where all my fish come from.
Right.
So that's how open a lot of these guys are. So it's fantastic.
That's true.
All right. Again, thank you for taking the time on a weekend away from your family. And once you get back to that, but we'll make sure we get a link up on our website and also our Facebooks for your new business venture. But good fishing, buddy. Thanks a lot for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jared. Good talking to you.
Talking to you too. Thank you, James, for sitting down to share some information about your new company. I think we might hear a lot more in the future about the Midwest Kayak Company. There's some really good things in the works there. So this is one of those episodes that you can rewind that and get a lot of good chunks of information from what he dropped about inshore fishing with saltwater and also some of his bass fishing adventures. So very good job, James. So I appreciate you helping us spread the word about the podcast. Our viewership numbers have been rising with every episode. We appreciate your support there. Also, not only just subscribe on YouTube, but if you like me and I like to listen to a lot of podcasts on the road, we're now on almost all of your podcast platforms. So just take a look and search for us. So until next time, just remember, today's a gift. Tomorrow is simply a mystery. So get out fishing today.